Yeah, let me read your. So Beth, Beth Alpaugh has more than 23 years of experience as a business owner with a career that has evolved from coffee house operations and full service catering to large scale food production and community focused meal solutions. She leads a USDA certified food production facility that prepares fresh and frozen meals distributed through retail, institutional, and airport partnerships. Her work focuses on making nutritious food for more accessible through practical meal preparation, food safety compliance, and scalable food systems. Beth is passionate about helping individuals and families bridge the gap between nutrition recommendations and real life eating habits. Beth holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in marketing from Weber State University, and she operates a USDA certified facility and is an airport concessions disadvantaged business enterprise certified in both Idaho and Utah.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me early this morning, and thank you for having me. It's kind of a fun adventure for me, but also I'm not exactly comfortable. I'm more in person, so bear with my stuttering. Today, I wanted to talk to you about nutrition. It's something that we all have to deal with on a daily basis, and sometimes you don't really like to think about it, or you look at other things going, ugh, I don't want to be that much thought into it. As she said, as Lake had said, I own Simple Bites in Meridian, Idaho. I'm a food production and meal development with a USDA facility. I am the only one in this area that does what I do. So there's lots of meal companies out there, but they're not certified USDA, which is good terminology for me, which basically means I can cross state lines and sell wholesale. So that's what USDA means. Plus, everything is logged and recorded. Um, Through my experience of what I've been doing, it has developed a way for me to be able to see what people, not just what nutrition does, but what people actually eat. Uh, the opportunity to see the nutrition guidelines and what it is recommended, and then to see what actually people will choose. And what I've learned is that most people generally want to make healthy choices, but real life often gets in the way. We all have busy schedules, time constraints, access, and decision fatigue all influence how food decisions are made. Today, my goal isn't to talk about perfect nutrition. Instead, we're going to explore nutrition and how it can become more practical, realistic, and sustainable, and how small, consistent choices can make healthy eating more achievable for the people we serve and support. So with that, we're going to move on to the next slide on why nutrition is hard to follow. In many cases, the challenge is not the lack of knowledge. Most people have heard general recommendations about eating balanced meals, including fruits and vegetables, and limiting highly processed foods. However, understanding nutrition advice and actually applying it in everyday life can be very different. First, it's important to recognize that most people already understand basic nutrition principles. For example, many people know that eating more vegetables, including protein and meats, and limiting added sugars can support better health. Nutrition information is available through schools, healthcare providers, media, and public health campaigns. We've all seen 1,000 diet commercials on TV telling us what we should eat and what we shouldn't. And because of this, the issue is often not that the people don't know what healthy foods look like. Instead, the challenge comes from translating that knowledge into daily habits. Knowledge and knowing what to do doesn't always mean it's easy to do consistently. For example, someone might understand that cooking meals at home can be healthier, but after a long day of work of managing family responsibilities, cooking a full meal may not be realistic. I know it's not for me. In those moments, people often choose the option that is quickest and easiest, and this shows how knowledge alone is not always enough to change behavior. Another creates competing priorities. People are balancing many responsibilities such as work, childcare, transportation, finances, elderly care, and other commitments. Food choices are just one of many decisions that people make throughout the day. And because of this, nutrition competes with other priorities like saving time, managing stress, or staying within a budget. There are several common challenges that make it harder for people to follow nutrition advice. One is time constraints. Preparing balanced meals often require planning, grocery shopping, and cooking, and then cleaning it up. When someone has a busy schedule, these steps can feel difficult to maintain regularly. Another challenge is decision fatigue. Throughout the day, people make many decisions related to work and personal life. By the time they decide what to eat, they may feel mentally tired and simply choose whatever is easiest. And then we have cost concerns that play a role. Some people perceive healthier foods as more expensive, which may influence their choices at the grocery store. And then we have limited access, can be a barrier. In some communities, people may not have access to grocery stores with fresh and affordable foods, making it harder to follow nutrition recommendations. Idaho does not have fresh produce year round or fruit or anything like that. And because this group we focus on our senior care, another group that is fails tremendously is because of our older adults. Many elderly individuals may have reduced appetites, medication side effects, or health conditions that affect how much they eat. In those situations, the goal often shifts from eating a perfect diet to simply making sure they are getting enough nutrition. Sometimes that means encouraging foods they enjoy or meals that are easy or rather than focus strictly on ideal nutritional guidelines. Even small amounts of food that provide protein, calories, and nutrients can make a meaningful difference in maintaining strength and overall health. In nutrition, sometimes the best choice is not the perfect choice, but the one that someone will actually eat. When we look at all of the factors together, it becomes clear why nutrition advice can sometimes feel difficult to follow. The issue is not motivation or knowledge, but rather the realities of everyday life. And understanding these challenges helps us start thinking about solutions that make healthy eating more practical, accessible, and sustainable for people in our lives. When we talk about healthy eating, it's important to understand the reality of modern eating habits. The way people live today are very different than it was just a few decades ago. Work schedules, family structures, and daily responsibilities all influence how people shop for food and prepare meals. Because of these lifestyle changes, the way people eat has also changed. One major factor is how people with our busy schedules. Many people have days that are packed with work, commuting, school activities, appointments, and caregiving. After a long day, preparing a meal from scratch can sometimes feel overwhelming. More like all times can feel overwhelming. Because time is limited, people often look for food options that are quick and convenient, and this could mean prepared meals, frozen foods, or ready to eat items. Convenience doesn't necessarily mean people don't care about their health. It often simply just reflects the need to balance food choices with everything else happening in daily life. We also have dual income households. In many families today, both adults are working. While this helps support financial stability, it also reduces the time available for cooking and meal preparation. I know if you guys all start to think about it, if you're going to plan a dinner for a night, your head is already thinking, okay, I need to get this, and this. I need to get this on the table. I forgot to pull the meat. There's always something going on. And in the past, one person in the household would have had time to plan and cook the meals. And today, many families just are juggling work schedules and other commitments that stop that from happening. And because of this, convenient meal solutions have become more common and often necessary. Another reality of modern life is caregiving responsibilities. Many adults are caring for children, aging parents, or other family members, and these responsibilities require time, energy, and attention. When someone is managing caregiving responsibilities along with work and other daily demands, preparing meals from scratch every day is not possible. Convenient foods then help relieve some of that pressure and make it easier for people to feed themselves and their families. We also have the increased reliance on convenience foods. Convenience foods include things like prepared meals, frozen foods, packaged ingredients, and ready to eat items that require little preparation. You now notice if you walk into a grocery store, immediately you're going to notice pre cut vegetables, pre cut fruit, meat that's already seasoned. It's obvious that that's where the marketing has gone, where people are purchasing more of these items to help prepare meals at home. They're not simply shortcuts, they're necessity and practical tools that manage people's time and responsibilities. The key question then becomes how to ensure that these convenient options can still support good nutrition. Convenience is often a necessity and it's not a failure. Rather than assuming convenience foods are always unhealthy, it can be more helpful to think about how convenient foods can be designed in ways that still support balanced nutrition. Understanding the realities of modern lifestyles often helps us develop a nutrition strategy that are practical, realistic, and easy to maintain. People don't necessarily want to sacrifice quality, nutrition, or taste. What they really want are options that fit into their lives. They want meals that are convenient, but still feel like you're eating real food. And that's where companies and food providers have an opportunity to help. By creating meals that are ready to go, balanced, and easy to access, we can support people who are trying to manage busy lives while still trying to make thoughtful choices about what they eat. Ultimately, understanding today's environment helps explain why convenient, ready to enjoy meals have become such an important part of people and how they eat today. So, when we look at today's environment, it becomes clear that simply telling people to eat healthier is not always realistic. If healthy eating is going to work for people in the real world, it has to fit into their lives. And that's why healthy eating tends to succeed when it's practical, accessible, consistent, and flexible. First off, to be practical, people are much more likely to make healthy choices when these choices are easy to include in their daily routine. If something requires too much time, planning, or preparation, it often becomes difficult to maintain. We all have great ambitions, but then you can't maintain it. Many people want to cook every meal from scratch, but the reality is work schedules and other commitments that will make that challenging. Practical solutions like balanced prepared meals, simple ingredients, or quick cooking methods help ensure that people can make decisions without adding more stress to their day. When healthy options are practical, people are much more likely to stick to them. The next is accessibility. Healthy food needs to be available and easy to obtain. If healthy options are difficult to find or too expensive or require special preparation, many people will go a different route, looking for faster and easier. Accessibility can mean different things. It might have nutritious meals available in grocery stores, workplaces, or community settings. It might also mean making healthy food options affordable and convenient for families. When people can easily access healthy foods where they live, work, and shop, it becomes much easier for them to build healthier habits. Next is consistency. Healthy eating is not about making one perfect choice. Instead, it's about building patterns over time. Consistency allows people to create habits that become part of their everyday routine. For example, choosing balanced meals regularly, incorporating vegetables more often, or planning meals ahead of time can gradually create long-term improvements in diet. Consistency helps turn healthy choices into habits, and habits are what truly support long-term health. And the most important one for me is flexibility. Everyone's lifestyle, culture, and schedule and personal preferences are different. A one size fits all approach to nutrition doesn't work because people need options that adapt to their own lifestyles. Flexibility means allowing room for different food preferences, occasional indulgences, and changing schedules. When people feel that healthy eating fits their lifestyle rather than restricting it, they're more likely to continue making healthy choices. Yeah. And because of what the group focuses on with food, it's very important
We
to,
lost your audio, Beth.
oh,
There we go.
am I
That's
back? I
better.
might have
Yep.
put my hand over my mouth. There we go. So it's important that elderly individuals may have reduced appetites, medication side effects, or health conditions that affect how they eat. I think I already told you that. Hold on. I lost my note. Ability. See, take two.
Okay, all good.
Okay, so if we're back on flexibility, something that really highlights this is thinking about older adults. I once heard a dietitian explain that sometimes the goal with elderly patients isn't perfect nutrition. It's simply making sure they eat something that provides energy and nutrients. Many older adults have smaller appetites, medications, and often affect taste, health conditions that make eating difficult. In those cases, if someone enjoys a certain food, it helps them eat regularly. They can actually be a positive step towards maintaining health and strength. We all have seniors that nothing tastes good or, they just want to eat crackers. And so we got to think about what can I put on that cracker to add a little bit more nutrient. Moments like that remind us that nutrition advice should support people where they are in life and not just where we think they should be.
Oh, when you look at your other side, we don't hear you anymore.
Okay. You can see me, yeah?
Yes, we can see you. Yes.
I'm on my notes, so I'm like, am I
You're
boring everybody?
you're doing great. No, it's good
Okay.
stuff. Keep going.
Let's see. So we want to do progress over perfection. Healthy habits are built gradually over time, small improvements like choosing a balanced meal, adding just one more little vegetable, preparing a food ahead of time can add to a meaningful change in overall health. Rather than focusing on perfection, focus on progress. It allows you to create a sustainable habit that lasts. And when healthy eating is practical, accessible, consistent, and flexible, it becomes something people can realistically maintain in everyday lives. So we've all seen the protein, the vegetables, fiber, carbohydrates, and healthy fats. And then we go, yeah, I'll take the carb. So in my lifestyle, for an example, we're so busy and running in 20 million different directions, and I have all of this food available to me, but I don't have the time to stop and think about it. So I'll survive on a roll all day. I'll grab a piece of bread and off I go and keep going. So that's where my energy comes from, but then I'm lacking all of the other things that I need to do. So I always look at this and think, okay, Beth, you should be preaching to the choir. So the first important thing is protein. That also is your muscle support and keeps you full. It plays a big role, and it's something that, especially as you age, you really need to focus on protein. That is your number one important thing. That's your fish, eggs, beans, tofu, dairy products, and foods like nuts and seeds can even provide for protein. And including a good source of protein in a meal helps make that meal more satisfying and complete. Fruits and vegetables. They provide your vitamins, minerals, and fiber and antioxidants that help support many systems in the body. They also contribute to digestion, immune health, and overall well being. Nutrition guidelines often recommend that about half of the meal plate should be fruits and vegetables. Next is your carbohydrates, which is your whole grains. That's your primary source of energy. That's like rice, potatoes, whole grain, pasta, quinoa, and oats help fuel the brain and muscles. They also, whole grains will do your fiber and nutrients that support digestion and long lasting energy. Carbohydrates sometimes get a bad reputation, but when included in the appropriate portions and paired with your protein and vegetables, they play an important role in a balanced meal, and your body will work them off if they've got the protein and the vegetables to assist it. You have healthy fats, and they help absorb certain vitamins and support brain and heart health. Healthy fats come from foods in olive oil, avocados, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish like salmon. Added in moderate amounts of healthy fats can also make meals more satisfying and flavorful. One helpful thing that I wanted to give everyone is the plate method. And that is always when you get your plate. So when you go to eat your lunch or dinner tonight, just get your plate and make sure that half of that plate is full of fruits and vegetables. 1/4 is protein and 1/4 is whole grain or carbohydrates. By doing that visual approach, you'll realize that you're making a balanced meal. It's also important to remember that meals don't have to be complicated. They can be very simple: chicken, rice, vegetables, a salad with grilled protein or whole grain bread, a breakfast with egg, fruit, and a whole grain toast. I heard Kathy say earlier she was eating her whole oatmeal. Did you have some protein and some fruit with that? See, it's just little things like that that you have to stop and think. And sometimes you don't even think, you just go. Ultimately, balanced eating is combining different food groups in a way that supports your health, energy, and sustainability. When meals include all of these items, they're more likely to provide the nutrients our bodies need to function well throughout the day. And when balanced meals are also practical and accessible, they become much easier to incorporate in everyday lives. Common barriers to healthy eating. One of the biggest barriers in healthy eating is the lack of time. Many people are balancing everything that we have to do and all of our commitments. And by the time they get home at the end of the day, cooking a full meal is overwhelming. Because of this, people often turn to foods that are quick and easy, like takeout, fast food, or packaged convenience foods. When these options can save time, they're not always provide the same balance of nutrition as a home prepared meal. When time is limited, even people who want to eat healthier may struggle to make that happen consistently. I know for me on the weekends, I'm much more better at choosing the right foods and making plans. And then the week hits and everything goes out the window. Another common barrier is cost. Many people believe that healthy eating is expensive. Fresh produce, lean proteins, and whole foods can sometimes appear more costly than highly processed foods or fast food options. Hence why you see a lot of free meal programs and food banks have a lot of starch, a lot of carbs, and not the fresh and the protein. There are ways to build balanced meals on a budget, such as choosing seasonal produce and using frozen vegetables or incorporating affordable protein sources like beans and eggs. A third barrier is access to healthy foods. Not everyone lives near a grocery store or has access to get to a grocery store. And in these cases, people rely heavily on convenience stores or fast food restaurants simply because those options are more available. Accessibility can play a major role in shaping eating habits and food choices. Another barrier can be knowledge and cooking confidence. Some people may not have experience preparing balanced meals or may not know how to cook certain foods, often feel unsure about how to plan meals or combine ingredients in a healthy way. Should I add this oil? Is this oil not any good? Now the news is saying seed oils, stay away from them, but they were good 5 years ago. So it's always something going on. Providing education and simple cooking techniques, meal planning, and balanced nutrition can help people feel more comfortable preparing healthy meals. Finally, our daily habits and routines can influence eating patterns. Many people develop routines around food that are shaped by convenience, culture, and family habits or work schedules. Changing these habits can take time and effort. The first barrier is perceived affordability. Many people believe that eating healthy is more expensive than buying highly processed convenience foods. When individuals or families are working on a tight budget, the price of groceries can be a major factor in these decisions. For example, fresh fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains often viewed as more costly compared to fast food or packaged meals. I mean, how many fast food restaurants are the $5 deal or the $7 deal? That sounds way more enticing than going to the grocery store and then your grocery bill is $112, just off the top of my head. So affordability is a big, consistent problem. Many people look for options that provide value, convenience, and predictability in cost. The second economic barrier is food waste. Many households worry about buying fresh ingredients. Like, how many of you go to the grocery store, let's say on a Saturday, and you buy your groceries for the week, and by the following Friday, your tomatoes have already turned, the bananas are black. We didn't use the shredded lettuce that we pre-purchased, and now it's going in the trash. So you look at all the options that get thrown away before you even have a chance to use them. When food is wasted, it also means money has been wasted. And when you're trying to manage your budget, that doesn't go along with it either. So people choose self-stable or processed foods that will last longer and feel less financial responsibility. I know sometimes we've thrown a bunch of stuff and we start adding it up in the garbage can, and it's like, that wasn't a smart thing to do. So then you choose things that are easy to eat the same day. When we talk about affordability and food waste, we can see how economic concerns play a major food role, and especially in the seniors that are on fixed budgets. Understanding these concerns can help us recognize why convenience foods and ready-to-eat options can sometimes feel safer and an easier choice. When we start rethinking about prepared foods, they need to be balanced. A balanced meal includes a variety of nutrients that the body needs to function. This usually means including your protein, your vegetables, your fruits, your whole grains, and some healthy fats. When prepared meals include these components, they can provide the same nutritional value as meals prepared at home. In fact, balanced meals, prepared meals, can sometimes make it easier for people to include the right combination of foods without having to plan every detail for themselves. The second is portion control. If you think about it, in the in the 80s, the plate sizes, it was about an 8-inch dinner plate is what our mothers had. Today, the normal dinner plate size is a 12-inch. So you wonder where the weight gain has come. It's in your plate sizes. That's when in the 80s is when all of a sudden supersize started coming into play. People started eating more and more and more and more. So we've got to control portions to make the nutrition there for people. So it's important to look at portion control, and that's where convenience foods do come in handy that are at the grocery store, prepared meals, is that they're already portioned out because let's face it, not everybody's going to go home with their scale and say, I can have this much rice. You're going to scoop it onto your plate and go. So you can use prepared meals and prepared things that you buy at the grocery store in a positive aspect on that. The other is recognizable ingredients, especially today, and the government is trying to get us back on track with real foods, taking out red dye 40, taking out preservatives that are not necessary. And I'm a strong believer that I think what's in our food has caused a lot of illnesses and things that are going on. And I'm doing more and more research on that. And we, as my company, we are watching it all the time to see what we can change, can still be affordable, but start making the changes that need to be made to be more healthy. There's no reason that Americans are eating certain things that Europe refuses to put into their foods. So those are the kinds of things that really get me fired up and want to make some changes. And the final thing is that we need to design foods that are for real schedules. There is no more thing where someone's at home preparing 3 meals a day for you. I mean, we all have to be realistic on what is happening in our world today. So we need to start seeing prepared foods as not just convenience, but as a tool that can support better nutrition. When prepared meals are balanced, portion controlled, made with recognizable ingredients, and designed for real life schedules, they can help people overcome many of the barriers we discussed earlier. The first strategy is to build meals around protein first. Protein plays an important role in helping people feel full and satisfied. When you make your grocery list or you're making it for someone else, instead of saying, we're going to have baked chicken on Monday, and on Tuesday, we're going to make tacos, and on Wednesday, we're going to make this, set out your schedule and you just say the protein: chicken on Monday, beef on Tuesday, salmon on or fish on Wednesday, pork on Thursday. Then you're going to build your meal around that protein, because then you're starting with your protein and then you start going, okay, now how can I get a half a plate of vegetables with that? How can I get a quarter plate with that? So it just changes your thinking of how to make that plate from the beginning. You should always keep backup meal options available. We may have a great idea that Monday I'm going to come home and I'm going to make tacos. Well, Monday, everything went crazy. The time changed. everyone's wanting my attention. And now it looks like we want to do pizza coming home, but you're like, that's not very healthy. What can I have at home? So it's always good to get to your home and be like, oh, I remember we made this 2 weeks ago. It's already portioned, it's in the freezer. I can pull that out and we're ready to go. Or you have the seasoned meat and vegetables that you bought from the grocery store, and you know that that's your backup meal for the week. It's just nice to have a backup plan that's available. We need to reduce your daily food decisions. You get tired. Like for me, I answer 1,000 questions a day. And sometimes when I come home and my husband says, well, what do you want to do for dinner? I just look at him and say, I can't make one more decision today. I need that off my plate. And so the more that you can take that off your plate and just think about it beforehand and have a plan, you start getting into a routine so that by the time you get home, things are done. Like I'm a big crock pot lover because I know that there's going to be dinner by the time I get home that I don't have to think about. Focus on consistency over perfection. So instead of trying to be perfect every day about what you're choosing for nutrition, think, okay, every day this week I did add an extra 2 pieces of broccoli or an extra spoonful of some other sort of vegetable. Oh my goodness. So just keep thinking that small habits do create long-term change. And that's how we develop habits. And all of a sudden you start going, oh, okay, this is a normal thing for me. So as we just talked about throughout the presentation, healthy eating is influenced by many different factors: our schedules, our budgets, our access to food, and the habits we build over time. Because of this, improving nutrition isn't just about individual choices, it's about the systems and communities that support those choices. When communities provide resources and support, it becomes much easier for individuals to make healthier decisions. Nutrition education, of course, is important, but not everybody wants to listen to it. But little things that you can tell people on a side note, or when you're with one of your clients and you go, oh, look, you should have this half needs to be filled with vegetables. It just helps you're educating without dictating kind of a thing. And so it's important that nutrition can take on many forms. When people have access to clear and practical information about nutrition, they become better equipped to make informed choices about their food. As accessible meal options, as we discussed earlier, for busy lives, it helps find convenient to use, and it becomes much easier for people to maintain a healthy eating habits. Communities also can support nutrition through local food partnerships. This can include a collaboration between local farms, grocery stores, community organizations, and food providers. And these partnerships can help improve access to fresh ingredients and balanced meals within a community. Local partnerships can also support regional agriculture, strengthen local food systems, and make nutritious food more available to the people who live in that area. When communities work together, they can create systems that make healthy eating more achievable for everyone. The final component is providing practical resources. This might include meal planning tools, simple cooking guides, community food programs, or access to prepared meals that support balanced nutrition. Prepared meals can also be kept in the freezer as your backup meals. They can be, kept when you don't have time to do the cooking, that kind of thing. And this bridges the gap between knowing what healthy eating looks like and actually what's putting into practice. And when people have tools that fit their lifestyles, healthy eating becomes much more realistic and sustainable. Ultimately, healthy eating provides when systems support individuals. And why personal choices matter, people are much more successful in maintaining healthy habits when their environment provides the tools, access, and support they need. And combining nutrition education, accessible meal options, and local partnerships and practical resources, communities can create environments that make healthy eating easier for everyone. So it's important to talk about what's available out there in your normal day-to-day conversations with people so that they learn. Key takeaways are healthy eating must be realistic in order to be sustainable. Convenience and nutrition can work together. And finally, consistent choices matter the most. Healthy eating is not about perfection. Instead, it's about making steady improvements over time. Choosing a balanced meals more often, planning ahead when possible, and building simple habits can lead to meaningful changes in long-term health. And ultimately, when healthy food options are practical, accessible, and supportive of real life routines, people are much more likely to develop health habits that last. I just want to thank you and I appreciate your time. I know I probably got fast at the end because I thought I'm boring people, but I'm here to answer any questions. And I hope it didn't look like I was reading my notes the whole time. I'm terrible.
I thought it was
Yeah,
great.
yeah. And actually, I thought I would share an example, and just an experience I had with this situation. And it's a family member who's also been a client that they've brought me in many times to kind of help keep mom and dad safe. And I was witnessing how, the husband was the planner, the meal prep, and he was starting to struggle cognitively and physically, and meal prep was taking him hours in the evening. And going to the grocery store was another hour during the day, and his wife was diabetic. And so by the time he would get the meal done, she had been, eating crackers, giving herself more insulin. It was a disaster, but this was the routine they knew and they understood. And they tried actually HelloFresh and some other um, meal prep type kits, but they're actually very complicated. And this was very difficult for him and actually took longer than if he was preparing something he knew how to prepare. So they actually had hired me to come and spend several days with them. I do this once a year. And I decided that I was going to take some Simple Bites meals with me. And so I called them and I said, while we're working together, we have so much to do. Instead of, doing fancy dinners at home, what if I just I'm going to have some of these sent. And the wife said, Dara, you're very funny. You're as subtle as a heart attack. And I said, well, I figured it'd be a way to try. And so I ordered 9 different meals because I was going to be with them for 3 different dinners and had them sent at East Coast. I mean, I was in Maryland and had them sent. And we made it was like tasting our favorites. And every night we put them in the oven. And, I kept them busy working right up till the end. And, the acceptance was moderate, I would say. It was like, oh, and I said, let's add a salad. You can still make the salad. And, but I would say there were thumbs up on like 7 out of the 9. That's not bad, right? For
Right.
what they liked. And when I left, they were like, oh, that's pretty good in a pinch. I'm like, great. Well, and a few months later, I got can you send me that web address again? Because we're thinking that actually is pretty helpful and handy. And I don't think they're doing it every night or even every week, but I know that they have these ready meals that are nutritionally balanced and they're not eating. I mean, they were eating Chick-fil-A and, these kinds of things that were easy when they didn't have the energy. And so it is about new habits, but sometimes those new habits are introducing like not just new foods, but new solutions. And so, Beth, I want to just say thank you because I think this is a really good option for people. And I do want people to know that Beth and others, there are other services like Beth, but they ship all over the country. And the charcuterie board was awesome, just saying. So,
That's good to know. And that's what, I really want Simple Bites meals to be a backup plan. I don't want to feed you 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. I mean, I will, but I think you need variety in your life. And even as an elderly person, you've done your duty. And if you want a Burger King Whopper, you have it. And then the next night you eat salmon and some vegetables. And then the next night you cook something that you love to have made. I just think about all the things that's important in having variety. And so thank you for trying Simple Bites meals and giving us a try. And we strive to be the meal place for all of our people. So
So Beth, can you talk a little bit about there is a question here. Somebody says they wish that you delivered to Emmett. Where do you deliver in the local area, and what are other options for
oh,
people
we
to
go to
receive your
Emmett.
meals?
We have a client in Emmett that we go to once a month. His son lives in Texas and they call us and we go. And the one thing about us when we deliver locally, which is Treasure Valley, we go to Emmett. Um, we do go to Mountain Home because we do travel to Salt Lake every Tuesday and Friday. So anything on the way to Salt Lake, we will stop and deliver there personally. Otherwise, we ship through FedEx or UPS. But the one thing about us when we are local, we are also an extra set of eyes. And that's where our one client that's in Emmett, the son lives in Texas. He loves the fact that we give a little report that we saw dad. This is what he was doing today. In fact, the last delivery, we couldn't wake him up. And so we, called the son, let him know, and then they had people come over and check on him. He was just in a deep, deep sleep, but it's things like that that we're just that extra, like the house isn't looking like it normally looks, has someone checked in, things like that. And so that is one thing that we do offer here that we take a little bit more serious. So yes, Emmett, anytime, Tuesdays and Fridays.
That's great.
Awesome, Beth. That's fantastic.
Well, I have a question. I thought that was really informative, so thank you for that. And then you mentioned freezing meals. I've seen like on Facebook and like the reels and things like that that people are starting to freeze stuff not cooked but raw. What do you recommend? Do you recommend that you put everything together in a way that it just, heats up and it's already cooked, or do you recommend that you put it together so that you can put it in a crock pot and cook it after the fact? What's your best practice there?
Well, it depends on like if you were cooking for a family, you can make your own crock pot meal in a baggie, in a Ziploc and stick it in the freezer raw and then drop it in your crock pot. Um, for like our house, like if let's do a big dinner on Saturdays and we have leftovers, I immediately put them in individual containers and they go in the freezer. They're tagged so that everybody can grab a lunch during the week that we don't have to eat it 5 days in a row. We can eat it in 2 weeks or something like we take a lot of it on the road with us. But meals, having prepared meals where you just have to heat them up changes the game for most people to not have to think about cooking. The one thing for Simple Bites meals, I'm not advertising it, but I'm just as an example. Um, so let's say that your client or you have the meals at home and you're like, oh, tomorrow we're going to eat Simple Bites meals. They're fully cooked and then you can heat them in the oven or the microwave. But then the daughter comes and says, let's go out to dinner. And you're like, oh no, I didn't eat that. You can pop it back into the freezer and then pull it out on another time. And that's where HelloFresh, when we first started this, I wanted to kind of go after the model like HelloFresh where you're cooking all the components. And I was like, this just takes too much time and things happen. And you're like, I don't even know what this means to their directions. And then the food was rotting in the refrigerators. And we had customers telling us, we don't want to cook. And so that's how it came out where everything was done for them. And so that's where we were listening and kind of going from there. So I think having prepared cooked meals ready to pull from your freezer and have in the microwave or oven is the best bet for anyone to stay consistent.
That's great.